going to a cafe and doing some writing. My biggest dream is to become a published author. Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I thought it would be nice to do another Project Teacup vlog. I had a really good writing day yesterday. I've been whinging a lot in the last previous vlogs about how much slower working on draft 2 of this project is. And if you're new here, I should run you up to speed. Hello, my name is Christy. I'm currently working on a fantasy novel, an adult fantasy novel, which I have dubbed Project Teacup. I wrote the first draft. I'm now currently onto the second draft. And the process has been quite slow at the moment because I'm trying really hard to flesh out the story slowly. Like, I know what the plot is now because I have the first draft, but I'm trying to really do a good job at developing the characters in the right way and doing all the world building and basically fixing the problems as I go. Because in the last novel I worked on, which did not get published, the sort of process I had was I would write from start to finish, and as I was writing I knew little problems were cropping up, but I didn't really worry about them until the next draft. And then I would realize at the next draft that those little problems were actually a much bigger deal than I realized. So essentially with this project, I'm trying to write more slowly and fight those little fires as I go. I don't write every single day because, like, with my other work stuff I have to do, my other commitments, I just don't have the time, but I try to write at least 4 days a week generally, and at the moment I'm sort of averaging like 6,000 words a week, I think, if we're just speaking about stats and pure numbers, but it is a little bit all over the place. Anyway, I wrote 2,000 words yesterday and I feel really good about that. Hoping that my momentum will keep up and I'll be able to write a decent amount today. So what I'm going to be doing today, going to a cafe and doing some writing outside of the house. A lot of the time when I do end up writing in cafes, it is generally when I'm filming vlogs. Like, I like filming bits out and about and outside the house. And I'm going to be going to probably the cafe, which is like my favorite in the city, which is Muscovado. They are a patisserie and it's just a really lovely vibe. The coffee is really good. Being a person who's self-employed, who works at home, I constantly find it difficult to find opportunities to get outside the house and to be amongst living real people outside. And I'm hoping that today, in the process of going to a cafe, sitting somewhere outside, it makes me feel like I have to get my work done because I'm using my mobile data with my tablet and I feel really guilty for going on Twitter, which is actually very good for me. It means that I concentrate better. So I'm hoping that in doing that, I'm able to continue the momentum I had yesterday because I wrote so well. I wrote so many words and I'm really excited to work on this particular scene that I'm working on. So let's go to a cafe. Let's go do some writing. Let's go get some really yummy baked goods. I'm so excited. Let's go do that. I am all home now. It is quite dark in here actually. It was very sunny and warm seeming this morning, but now it's quite gloomy outside again. It's supposed to rain all this week, but it was nice having a bit of lovely winter sunshine this morning. It's still wintry here. Obviously there were some blossoms, so it feels like it's coming into spring, but that brownie was so good. It was so good, and it was gluten-free, which made me very happy. So I did do a decent amount of writing in the cafe. Some of it was going back and re-editing stuff I'd already worked on, which is what I'm finding that I'm doing a lot with this draft. Before I get distracted and chat to you guys for too long, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna do a bit more writing because I think I have a little bit more work left in me for today in terms of writing. So I'm gonna sit down and do that now, and I can check in with you guys in a moment and let you know how we went. We managed to get draft 2 of Project Teacup up to 19,759 words, and yesterday we were sitting at 18,363. Pulling up my calculator because I'm not doing that in my head. 1,396 words were written today. On Monday I managed to write 1,100 words. Tuesday I didn't write anything at all. Wednesday, which is yesterday, I wrote 2,249 words, and today I've obviously written about 1,300, which is really good. I've got that my goal was to get to 22,000 by today. We're not there. I'm running a little bit behind in terms of where I wanted to be so far, but I'm not running that far behind. It's very exciting, but now I'm going to go get lunch. It's about 1 p.m. I operate under the belief that the skin adds nutrients to the potato, but the honest truth is that I can't be bothered taking the skin off and I don't really notice the difference, so I'm happy with this. So because there's been such amazing influx of people to my channel over the last month, thought it would be nice to do a little bit of a Q&A. So I put out a call out on Instagram. If you ever want to be involved in Q&As, here is my Instagram handle. I tend to run them over there. But yeah, I thought I would answer some questions while I do this. Favorite season? I love autumn. What's your biggest dream? I know a lot of you guys know this already, but my biggest dream is to become a published author. Skincare routine. I actually did that in the last video. So in my vlog, which was a day in the life of a writer and content creator, I actually showed my skincare routine. So please feel free to go and watch that video if you'd like to see my skincare routine. Any tea recommendations? My favorite tea is this one. This is T2's green tea rose, and it's basically green tea with little bits of papaya and rose petals, and it's the most beautiful green tea. I love this tea. I've been drinking it for years and it's wonderful. Favorite YouTube/booktube channels? For booktube, my favorite channel is Jen Campbell. I think she makes wonderful videos. I love her taste, and I've never had a bad book recommendation from Jen Campbell, so I really love her. I think she's great. Where are you from? I am from Adelaide, Australia. My accent has always confused people. Because I grew up spending a lot of time around British relatives who were from the north of England, when I was little had a quite British sounding accent. Also on top of that, the South Australian accent is like a little bit more slightly British sounding than some other Australian accents. Regardless, when I used to work in retail, all the time people thought I was British. And then when I moved to Japan, I used to teach American English, so I had to enunciate my words in a American sort of way. So I used to have to say sister, with the hard R sound, so that kids would understand me and so that they would pronounce it right. And so every now and then I still accidentally slip into this weird pronunciation of having the hard R sound, which doesn't really suit my accent. In the comments on my videos, people get really confused by where I'm from. South Australia! I grew up here. This is where I'm from. Isn't it frustrating to have inversed seasons with the Northern Hemisphere, in particular when in movies, books, etc. the Northern Hemisphere is represented? Snowy Christmas, for example. It's not really frustrating when you grow up and it's the only thing you know. I looked it up recently and it turns out only 13% of the world's population lives in the Southern Hemisphere. You know, our Christmas cards depict snowy scenes with Father Christmas and like snowmen, and we are so used to understanding that we are opposite from the Northern Hemisphere. What's a little bit frustrating is how many people from the Northern Hemisphere don't seem to understand how the Southern Hemisphere works. It's just really wild to me when people don't seem to get that there's a whole other hemisphere to the earth. We exist down here. Yeah, it's fun. When did you know you wanted to be an author? I can't remember ever not wanting to be an author, basically. As soon as I read Harry Potter, I was obsessed with stories and storytelling, and I remember seeing an interview with J.K. Rowling in the newspaper when I was really little, like maybe like 6 or 7 years old, learning about the fact that there are actually authors who write these stories. Immediately I was like, that's what I want to do. Can you suggest anything for learning writing? You don't need to do a master's degree or a bachelor's degree. You don't need to pay a lot of money to learn how to write stories. Reading as much as you can, looking at specifically what you enjoy about those stories and trying to capture that until you can understand what you're doing. If you are starting out with writing and you don't really know what to do or where to begin, I do really recommend Brandon Sanderson's lecture series, which is on YouTube. I'll link it in the description down below. And there's a specific lecture that Mary Robinette Howell, I don't actually know what her full name is. She does an amazing lecture on short story writing, and she speaks about, like, in terms of story structure, nesting your stories and the mice quotient, and it's like that won't make any sense if you haven't watched the lecture, but like I definitely recommend watching it. Any plans to travel somewhere? I'm going back to Japan the second I can. I also really want to go to America. It's been 3 years since I've had a holiday, and when you're a person who loves travel and so much of your joy comes from travel, that's a very long time. This is a little bit like, not bland, but a little bit more pared back than I normally make it, because I often put natural peanut butter in it, and I will generally use coconut milk. This week this was all I had the headspace to make. I just wanted something really easy. Let's answer a few more questions. What degree did you do at uni? I studied a Bachelor of Commerce specializing in marketing. I've told this story a bit, but I started out with a arts degree majoring in English. I needed to get a job after university, basically, and I made the really sort of like tough adult decision to move over into marketing and business. For my city, it would be very, very challenging for me to find a job out of an English degree, even though that was what I wanted to do, that was what I was passionate about. But I went and did a business degree because money and life stress and just normal things that normal people have to deal with. But my postgrad was in creative writing. When are you doing the video about Hayao's starting point? I have been talking about a Studio Ghibli video essay that I want to do for like a whole year. It's coming. Eventually it'll be here. What are you reading now? I'll go get my books. Currently I'm reading The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa, which is the book we're reading for this month over on Patreon for our book club. And in addition to that, I'm also reading the first Earthsea book at the moment. I've been wanting to read this for ages. It's been on my list for a very long time. As writing is a very lonely job, how do you handle the loneliness? I don't get lonely, which is interesting. Like, I was really worried about that when I first moved over to being self-employed and staying at home all the time. I don't get lonely per se. I actually spend a lot more time with my friends now than I did before because I have so much extra time. I don't have to work on weekends anymore. I can go out to dinner with my friends during the night times because I'm no longer, you know, spending every single night editing YouTube videos and doing freelance writing. The thing I struggle with it is not loneliness, it's being in the same place all the time. Because we're in a 1-bedroom apartment, it's really hard to sort of be trapped in a very, very small space, and you know, we don't have a garden, nothing can grow on our balcony, so often I feel quite removed from nature. And also my partner Tyler works from home a lot, which means that he's here and I can talk to him, and it's really nice to have him here. What genre of fiction do you write the most? Generally, I'll always write speculative fiction. So basically, if it's not a fantasy story, it's gonna have ghosts, it's gonna have magical realism, random. But where was your glass teacup from? This guy is the one I think you're talking about. This is from T2. It used to have a little glass infuser in it, but I broke it one day when I was trying to make a vlog and I was really burnt out and I wasn't paying attention, and I picked it up and it just shattered, and that was, yeah, I got pretty upset about that one. Favorite stories from the Bloody Chamber? Yes, I love this question. Okay, so Bloody Chamber, a compilation of short stories by Angela Carter. The titular story, The Bloody Chamber, which is the first story, is beautiful and brilliant and so cool. It's quite long compared to the rest of the stories, so I do love Bloody Chamber itself, which is actually a retelling of the fairy tale of Bluebeard, but probably my favorite short story in here is The Earl King. I've reread that story like, I couldn't even tell you how many times. I love it to bits. It's so creepy, it's so beautiful. The natural imagery is just stunning. What is your favorite video you've made? Which was asked by Gavin. He has a YouTube channel as well and he talks about books. Oh, that's so challenging. Recently, my favorite video that I've made is the Haruki Murakami 4 a.m. writing routine. That video was so much work. Like, I had 4 hours of raw footage to cut into that video. I was really proud of the Lord of the Rings video I made, but then everyone in the comments got a bit critical. Oh, they were so harsh. Like, I had to delete so many comments from that video because like people were just nasty, like really misogynistic. So I was proud of that video, and then the comments kind of soured it a little bit. The Arcane video I'm really proud of. That's probably, I think, my best produced video that I've done from an analytical perspective. I'm so proud of that video. And then in terms of vlogs or like videos I like for nostalgia factor, I love the video that I made in Hakone. That I get kind of emotional watching that video now because that was such a important moment for me. I had a really bad iron deficiency, which I didn't know about, and I was really overworked and I was really sick and like really battered and like really stressed about money all the time. I was stressed about money when we lived there. That trip to Hakone meant the world to me, and I love that vlog and I get a little bit emotional watching that vlog. And then the last question, because I feel like this video is going to get way too long if I keep answering more. Are you planning to release your Tokyo book for paperback? Yes, I am in the process of looking into this at the moment. It's quite complicated and stressful to organize. I wasn't sure whether people would be interested in having physical copies of the Tokyo Guide, but enough people have asked the question and enough people have actually bought the book to justify me making that jump and trying that out, which is like really humbling. I'm so blown away by how much people seem to have enjoyed A Year in Tokyo. I'm so proud of that book. If you are new here, earlier this year I self-published a illustrated memoir and Tokyo Guide, which is based on the time I spent living in Japan as an English teacher and writer, and I wanted to make a really like authentic and honest, you know, book about what it was genuinely like to live in Japan, you know, how to find cheap places to eat and what it's like to experience culture shock and like all of this stuff. It was basically just an amalgamation of my journey there and all of my best travel tips, and again illustrated, so there's a lot of like illustrations and stuff. And so yes, I actually am looking into that at the moment. I am now going to eat the rest of my lunch and spend basically the rest of the day doing video editing stuff, so I will say goodbye to you guys here. Thank you so very much for watching this video, and also an enormous thank you to everyone over on Patreon for supporting my content. Over there we have a lot of lovely bonus content, bonus videos, tutorials, our book club, private Discord server, a whole bunch of stuff. So if you want to check out Patreon, there's a link in the description down below. Take care everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.